I feel like mine was a tad early on your go.
Nah, whatever. Alright, so here we go. BS Coast to Coast, episode 16. Wherever you are listening to us, also know that you can listen to us at other places like YouTube if you want to see me and Benny's beautiful smiling faces. Or you can listen to us on audio platforms like Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, or wherever else you consume podcasts. If you're in your 70s, you can also listen to us on iHeartRadio. How you doing, Ben? You feeling good on this lovely August night?
I am. I am. It's a little hot here in Southern California. It's really
Nice, nice August
it's
6th.
been a little
Nothing,
hot.
nothing bad ever happens on August 6th.
August is like one of those months where it just kind of coasts by. The only thing that happens in August is school starts. Not for me, but
Yeah, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Thank fucking Christ.
yeah.
They wanted to keep me around, and they did their damnedest, but I graduated anyways. Alright, so I'm gonna rip you with a topic right off the bat here, because it
Mhm.
piggybacks off of one of our topics from last time. So the former president was shot, and
Oh yeah.
a little bit of a big tech cover up. So Google's AI apparently. Well, most AI platforms in general will not speak about it if you ask them. So I actually did
Interesting.
test this with my Snapchat uh, AI bot, chat bot thing that they have. And yeah, it won't talk about it. So
I did not expect that. That's interesting.
so when I asked it, it kept referencing to 2016 at a rally, which I actually do remember when this happened. Someone tried to grab a police officer's gun to shoot Trump, and that was about the only thing it would reference. It would not mention
Hmm.
the one from a couple weeks ago at all. So endow us with your AI knowledge, Benny. What's going on here?
So what?
And endow us with your AI knowledge.
And so something I've noticed about AI, and this is I'm sure other people have seen this. So many things are trying to include AI functionality nowadays, right? Um, I believe it's Dell. Other companies do it, but Dell's a big one because I like Dell products, right? Uh, Dell's devoting an entire department to AI solutions now. Like, and they're a huge company, so I bring them up because they're a huge company. Um, like, they want to put AI. I'm sure you guys have seen it, like in what's an example? Like, you go to Google search right now, right? I type in like I don't know, Home Depot, and it'll bring up actually that's a bad example, but like you type in something, right? Like a question, it'll bring up AI responses to it. Maybe
Yeah, I've seen that too.
how to fix your garbage disposal. There we go. And it comes up with a big ad block. It's like, well, this, and they'll have a little thing. Um, they're integrating AI into a lot of stuff now. They're also putting AI functionality on a lot of devices. There's a there's a mouse. I can't remember who makes it. I think a Logitech mouse now that has like a button on it where you normally like your middle mouse button where like you change your DPI and stuff. It's your AI button. It brings up a little window and it's like um it brings up your little window of like, hey, can I help you? All this stuff, right? And it's like they're just pushing all this stuff in your face. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, it's a little button right behind the scroll wheel where it replaces the DPI clicking button on like game mouses. Um, yeah, it's just getting more and more prominent, man, and people are using it more and more. I talked to I'm trying to change. I'm actually gonna get a different job, right? Connor, you know this. Um, and I went to one of my friends, one of my younger friends. She's 5 or 6 years younger than me, and I'm like, hey, I need to do my resume. It's something you can look at, right? And she's like, oh, I just use Chat GPT. I just built it and put it in there, and it gave me all these corrections and helped it out. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I never would have. Me being as old school as I am, never really would have. That would have been my go-to for me, right? Like, um, it's just kind of strange, right?
So,
It's,
with this case in particular, though, the thing that gets me is a lot of these companies, I know Snapchat themselves has said this directly, that there is no human element involved with their AI.
you're talking about
But
the censorship.
yeah, but it seems very
Yeah.
like I'm not looking at this from a political angle at all, but I'm just looking at it from the angle of okay, I've tested this out, and yeah, it's true, this doesn't work. So like, the fuck's going on here?
No, there's, I think you're right. Like,
Like
there is a,
it seems like something is going awry, right? Like it seems like somebody stepped in and programmed. Like I said, the only one I can actually confirm it for is Snapchat's AI uh, chatbot,
I haven't really looked
but
into it for a lot of stuff. I don't really care to look it up, but
it it definitely will dodge the question because I tried asking it in a lot of ways without like really leading it. Like obviously, if
hmm
I said something like, "Tell me about the Donald Trump assassination attempt that happened in Pennsylvania on this date," of course it's gonna come up with something then. But if you ask it without leading it, it will avoid answering, which seems very strange considering that this was a very high profile case. It's not like it's unaware. And I know it would have
right.
answered before because I did. My brother and I tested it not long after it happened, and it was responding for a while. But asking similar questions later on, it wouldn't.
Hmm.
So that's where it comes in, like the human element. Where does that come into play? All that kind of stuff.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's absolutely interesting. I mean, it's. I can see why a company would do it. I can see why it'd be something they'd want to step into because a lot of people like to stay away from politics. 'Cause politics in the United States is one of those volatile things. I think it's just ridiculous. Um, so like,
Where are the
yeah, I can
furries,
see why
Benny?
they'd want to
Where
keep it
are
away.
they?
Huh?
Where are the furries? The furry hackers.
They're
They're supposed to be
even
solving
they're hiding
this.
away, even they're hiding from politics. I mean, no, you know where the furry hackers are? Hacking Project 2025's whole thing. You heard about that, right?
Yeah, we talked about it last time.
Oh yeah. I'm just so happy about it. Like it's such a cool thing. I'm like I can't stop telling people about it. It's a story I can't stop talking about. Um, yeah, they're already doing their job, man. Like give them a little bit of time, you know. Just let it go, let them cook, and you'll see great results.
So uh, it's such a strange thing. I never my go-to thought with like AI is never to use it outright, like you said, like with like a resume. I only really use it for correcting something. So like I would make my resume by hand and then use AI to check it and see what suggestions it has in terms of fixing it, not outright cooking up a resume for me.
Right. Um.
And
Yeah. I like I said, I never would. I never would be my go-to, but it was just like it's strange to hear. Like, oh yeah, just Chat GPT. I'm like, I don't know.
well, okay, but what's your opinion on the removal of a human element? So let's say like Snapchat claims that there is no human element behind it, even though a year ago they fucking proved themselves wrong because their supposedly completely AI run bot posted a story. But what do you think about the removal of a human element? Do you think that they should just let the AI run wild, or do you think it should be monitored by a third party?
So
But then what happens when you let it be monitored by a third party? Well, maybe some things don't
the
show up.
this person comes to both, and you hit it on the head. So let's look at it at extremes, right? An AI is a cold, heartless, calculating thing. It will crunch whatever numbers you put into it. It
My AI
will tell
waifu
whatever you
would
tell it to
disagree with
do.
that.
I bet she'd be pretty cold and heartless if you fuck with her. Um, but your AI is a cold, calculating machine. That's what it is. If it's built out of personality, it's built out of personality, right? You can do different things with it. That's a whole nother thing. Um, if you had an AI that was programmed to like report on the news, right? Uh, if you had an AI you told it to report on the most interesting stories worldwide, 90% of them would be in the Middle East slash Ukraine, and they'd all be bad, right? Because they are the most interesting and they are the most dynamic and the most impactful, right? You got Japan's stock market crash that happened, right? You got I don't know, whatever stuff with Putin happens. You got some whatever stuff with the royal family, right? But like, it is gonna do what it's told to do, and it's gonna charge right through it. And that might be what you want, right? You want a unopinionated view of something. You want something created that has no human element to it, no religious element to it, no, all this stuff, right? But at the same time, you put a person doing the same thing or a person monitoring the AI. A person monitoring an AI and a person doing it themselves is not too far. They're not too far removed from each other,
Okay, but
right? Because your AI is a
also
big tool.
with your argument, the way you're putting it is also under the assumption that the AI is perfect, that it's not going to make a mistake.
Eh, yeah, that's theoretically. Um, can it make a mistake? Yeah, whatever, right? But like in general, that's what you're gonna get. It's gonna do what it's told to do, and that's another thing too. Is like honestly, they're gonna do what they get told to do. It's like you put the wrong numbers in a calculator, it'll give you the wrong answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works. Um, and I mean that's another hurdle. Like until we figure out exactly what we want, you could how do I put this? You could have it. You have an AI like you want it to do something, and then it goes off on a tangent, and you're like, "Why did it do this?" And you go look at its code, you go look at its program, you go look at how it learns, right? And it's like, "Oh well, it messed up because of this."
Well, it's also you do bring up a very good point, that you can't entirely remove human element, right? Because somebody has to program the AI in the first place. It has to, throw in all your fucking ones and zeros and all that kind of shit. So it is programmed in some regard to do what you tell it, right?
Hmm.
So I guess it just kind of brings up the question, maybe some of these things just aren't worth having AI do. I mean, you can program it to do what you want, but then there's always going to be a glitch. You're always going to have to go through and update it. And, it's just kind of like, what
AI today is.
the time that you
Go ahead, sorry.
spend, making sure that the AI is working properly is better to do that or spend the time just doing the job yourself. And obviously, there's no blanket answer to that. It's going to be different with every
Right.
single regard. But
I think with technology today and with the way people want to use it, like say AI would be perfect for like say you got an assembly line that puts I don't know the doors on a car, right? And you got these robots that do it, but you have somebody walking around or overseeing the robots, right? Well, that person just checks tolerances, it checks to make sure the machines are going right, it checks to make sure they're not breaking, does a visual inspection, right? Like they're not really there to run anything, they're there to monitor.
there's
In
just
a, in
a
a situation like that, I think you have a perfect future for AI.
that reminds me of people would always talk about robots taking our jobs, and it's like,
Yeah, that's
you we can create new jobs for people repairing the robots. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Everyone's gonna be a robot repairman in the future. What?
yeah. I mean, there's some truth to that, but that's something you could do, right? Like, and you could have, you have your AI, you have your one guy to run the AI, and he comes into work, 8 hours a day, and you only need a first shift guy to run 3 shifts of production, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's, am I taking away jobs? Absolutely, but like that's I think a spot where we're at in the technology that we could use this technology, right? That's when I think of AI and I think of a good use for it, I think of that. Sure, AI has a creative mind, but like it varies from it's kind of useful to it's a meme, right? When you
So
ask AI to do certain things. But like if you had it with a programmed set of instructions to do something, and they were tangible, they were by the numbers. I think you're golden. I think that's the way of the future. Um, you know,
also brings up the question of the advancements that we have in AI, but all of the efforts people make to counter it too. Uh, like, ask any college professor, and they fucking hate AI because their students just use it to write their essays. So they have like all these countermeasures and stuff they find to try and make sure that people aren't using AI.
I think using AI like that, I think that is wrong, and I think that is actually destroying. Not to sound like an old man, but that's destroying the youth of today, right? Like, there's a certain point. There's a reason why we do research papers. It's
But
not
where do you draw
to
that
fucking.
line? Is the thing. I mean,
So here's an example. Here's an example. Um, in the military, in the Navy, one might say, um, the
back in
old
my
I learned
day on the aircraft
back in my day
carrier.
when I learned how to be a sonar tech. We had to do a lot of stuff by hand. We did target motion analysis with contacts, right? And you did all this math by hand, and you did all this stuff by hand. But the computer could also do it for you. So there was a lot of verifying. There was a lot of doing all this stuff right. So if you train someone to plug these numbers into a computer, say you got a contact, you got this course, you got your course, they're moving right. You plug these numbers into a computer, the computer spits out a track, and it tells you where it's going, tells you its speed, all that, right? That's baller, right? That you can just do that. But if you don't know why it does that, and you have an error in there anywhere, you're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, like
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing to it. So a big thing that we do is when you learn how to do this stuff, they teach you how to do it by hand, and then you go to a system, and the system does it for you. And everyone's always like, "Oh, we have to learn it the hard way." It's like, so you know what goes on under the hood. It's like researching something. It's like if you do a research paper on, so you're taking an American history class, and you're doing a research paper on what were some things that started the Civil War, right? Um, you can have ChatGPT just write you a paper, right? But you don't learn anything. And the argument might be, well, why would I want to learn about who started the Civil War? It's a long time ago. Who cares? Move on. It was in the past. But it's like you're not
Those who
stimulating your
ignore
brain. You're not learning
history are
anything. You're
bound to
not you're not
repeat
doing
it.
anything. Well, yeah, that's happening now. Or what's another example?
So I
You've
mean,
got you
well,
got you got so in the work industry, right? In the blue collar industry, everyone makes things with CNC machines now, right? Use a computer, and they plug things in, and they do it all like that, right? But no one knows how to do it by hand anymore. You may not ever have to do it by hand, but like
but if
no
the
one knows
moment
the
occurs
why
when you
the
do,
why of, yeah, no one understands how like this stuff actually works, or like why it actually works. It's just like, oh, I can do this, and it works, and it's just like,
we brought up an interesting point in
uh,
all of that too, where when we were talking about Neuralink and being able to do something just with a thought. But
mm-hmm.
you and I brought up the point that sometimes that split second that it takes a person to actually do it can have a lot of impact. That's the same thing with
Yeah,
AI. AI is not going to put any real thought into it. It's just going to do it. Like you brought up like the example of somebody operating missiles on a warship. Sometimes that split second that actually takes you to do what you're doing is very important, for better or
mm-hmm.
for worse. But you know, and that's another thing with
Yeah.
AI is just always going to do that process.
There's kind of an example of that is uh Seaways on a ship is the thing that looks like R2D2, right? That shoots down the missiles, right? Um, there's a mode you can put Seaways on that's automatic. So like any target that gets within
Are you
five
saying fucking
miles,
C was?
Seaways,
Are we ta-
CIWS,
are we talking about
Seaways.
JoJo Siwa right now?
No, oh, that would be funny. So Seaways, close-in weapon system. Um, it's designed to shoot down missiles that get too close, right? Use big old 20 millimeter bullets that shoot down missiles. You can put an auto mode where it just shoots anything down that flies by within 5 miles. Missiles, aircraft, things that you throw into the sky.
Birds.
Like if it's got a radar signature, it will track it and it will shoot it.
Hmm.
I mean, an albatross flew by, it might shoot it. You never know. These things are temperamental. Um, but like if a civilian aircraft flies by, or your helo flies by, right? It'll take out your helo.
You see that kid's kite?
Uh,
Fuck that kid.
yeah. Um, there's a video where they were testing one, and a civilian jetliner flew by overhead, and it started tracking the jetliner.
Christ.
It wasn't loaded, right? It was just a radar test of it. But yeah, it started tracking it.
Hmm.
Um, so I think in that sense, right, like having that human element, especially in like a very stressful situation like a battle, is you can't not have that,
Mm-hmm. All
right?
right.
Even if you put it in auto mode, you have to have somebody sitting behind it to like check these targets, right, and do this stuff. And I think that's gonna be the way with AI in general. Is like you're probably gonna have to have somebody sitting there to check it. You can't even if it's autonomous. You know.
So
So
then you get into the news person in me goes and well AI makes a mistake. Yeah, that mistake was fixed, but that mistake was out there. How many people
yep.
saw it? Right? How are you gonna correct that mistake if that information's already out there?
Yeah. How many times is it? Oh, the site reported this, but it was taken down. You
Right.
know. So
It's always, well, we corrected it. We said there was a correction. Well, how many people saw the correction as opposed to how many people saw what was originally there?
yeah, yeah. Who goes back and reads the correction? Who gives a fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Not the people who people listen to. Um.
Especially the longer it takes for you to find that correction, less traction that story has, less people are going to look at it because it's old news now.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's where we're at right now is a very useful tool. It does a lot of heavy lifting when depending on what you want to use it for, but it's not a free thinking
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
system. So I always say the idea right when I like we had the system when I was talking about the target motion analysis stuff in the Navy. The system that you put all those numbers into was very advanced, but I always called it a big calculator because it only runs what you put into it. If you put bad information into it and hit enter, it gives you bad information.
Mm-hmm.
And I think AI is very similar. Is if you put in a huge statement like you want a picture of a Humvee, right? And you put in I want a picture of something else, or and you describe it differently, it might give you something different. You're like, well, I didn't want that.
Something
Uh, and
very
it's like, well, those are the words you put in.
something very interesting. Somebody tried to see what would happen. They asked AI to give them a picture of Bryan Cranston,
Oh god,
but then after the input put -1.
what the fuck?
So the way the AI interprets that is to give them the opposite of what they ask for. Well, what the fuck is the opposite of Bryan Cranston?
Jesse
And
Pinkman.
it yeah, it gave them like a picture of a skyline with a bunch of like weird symbols on it and stuff like that.
That's funny.
But
Yeah, there's still things. I mean, like I said, so even then I said it only does what you tell it to. It only does what it can do as well. Like if you ask for fire and -1, right? It'd give you ice, right? If you ask
hypothetically,
for
if that's what the AI thinks the
yeah,
opposite is,
yeah, but I feel like there's a lot more that has to be developed before you get into like because I mean, it didn't even give him a person when I asked for the opposite of Bryan Cranston, right?
because it's
Like,
trying to remove itself as much as it can from Bryan Cranston. If
yeah,
you put a
yeah,
person in there, it's not going to be the opposite.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, but yeah, it's only as smart as you as the information you put into it.
Right. And then the thing about AI is where it doesn't have information, it's just going to fill in the gaps as best as it can.
Yeah, which sometimes works. I mean, AI does. I've seen ChatGPT do some pretty amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also seen it like you just kind of scratch your head and you're like, what? I don't understand.
Yeah. The I remember one was somebody asked Google's AI. I have it pulled up here. What are the most common jobs for a parrot? And Google said woodworking, architecture, prison inmate, cook, toy maker, housekeeper,
Jesus.
behavioral analyst, and engineer. So
I want,
really,
I want my behavior analyst to be a parrot.
so really, instead of having AI do all these jobs, we should just have parrots do them.
AI agrees.
All right, let's move on to a different kind of bird. What's going on
Bird.
with Bungie, Benny?
Bungie. So Bungie had another wave of layoffs. This
Woo!
17%, 220 jobs. Like a lot. Not a little bit of layoffs, like quite a bit. Um
So what's their reason?
uh
What's what's
sorry.
what's the reason
So
little Timmy's daddy can't buy him a bike for Christmas?
so my what I'm reading and what I've seen is they've been saying that they've done a lot of ambitious growth and like they've had some misses, right? Like they had a whatever that game was, not Anthem. They tried to make another game, Marathon. I think Marathon is like whatever now.
The fact that we can't even
Um,
think of what it is says a lot about the current
yeah,
state of Bungie.
yeah. They've had some ambitious ideas and they want to expand a little bit, but like they just haven't.
Mm-hmm.
So they're uh, they're saying that essentially they grew too fast, and so they're cutting that back a lot.
Flew too close to the sun.
And I mean, I'm like, yeah.
So, keeping with our theme of AI,
Oh, and apparently they want to send 155 people over to Sony itself.
over
And now
what?
this is funny. They want to send 155 people over to Sony itself, like from Bungie to just Sony.
Hmm.
So it's like another 15%.
So, do you think they might be doing what EA did and are just laying off people to replace those jobs with AI?
Not as much.
Do we think that Bungie might be an evil company?
I think
Do you think there's any chance that Bungie isn't as altruistic as we think?
I think that the CEO of Bungie is dumb, but like um I don't know because you don't know how much of this is like what if they hadn't gotten bought by Sony kind of question, right? Like what might have been different? You know, the first wave of layoffs uh was partly because they were under scrutiny from Sony. Um and they didn't succeed as well as they wanted them to, so they got rid of some people to cut costs off the top. Um Yeah, the article here I'm reading, which is from Bloomberg, um, talks about that first wave of layoffs. It says they apparently missed their revenue targets by 45%. That was before the final shape came out, and they laid off a bunch of employees. And then
Well, but how much of this
they got
is
news.
how much of this comes from how Bungie is performing, right?
Right.
I mean, minus any sort of Destiny 2 expansions or anything, what's Bungie made in the last decade?
Destiny. So,
And it's like what we talked about with was that anime studio we talked about that closed down?
Uh,
Like, it's the same thing. They
so
hadn't done anything in a
yeah,
decade. Nothing noteworthy.
yeah. Oh, Gynax, yeah,
Gainax.
yeah. I mean, they whatever. They rested on their laurels, and that's what I think. Bungie had ideas and they had some ambitions, but they didn't really do anything with it. They didn't really progress. They didn't really do much, right? So like, of course it's gonna happen. The downside is it screws it up for any future the company might have. You know, getting rid of all these people, and they don't lay off the new guys. They lay off all the old people who make a ton of money. But those are the guys who built these games, who know how to do their stuff.
Right.
I'm not saying the younger guys are dumb, but they don't have the experience. Like experience counts a lot.
So, we look into this too, but, I mean, we've touched on this multiple times now, saying that the gaming industry is changing and that maybe it's just going to smaller teams of people making games. And really,
I mean,
I think these layoffs are their way of countering it. The way I see it,
I
it's
mean,
only
indie.
only benefiting indie developers.
I mean, look at some of these indie developers, right? Like some of the greatest games that made money were developed by one or two people or small studios, right? Like Helldivers, a small studio. Uh, Minecraft was made by Notch mostly.
Lethal Company was made by one person.
Lethal Company's made by one person, and it's like I mean these aren't like live service games per se that are gonna make a lot of money over the years, but like they were made by a person, and they developed it, and it went
Well, and they
out.
can make money in other ways too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure that the person who made Lethal got a good deal of money when they added the crew members to Fortnite.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
Uh,
even outside of the game itself, it's marketable.
so
But then
another
then
one.
it does fall under the whole issue where, yeah, Helldivers was a very small team that put together, but at the same time, they're still under the thumb of Sony.
Yeah.
And we saw a couple months ago how that can drastically affect uh, the game and um, the actual developers themselves, is they have Sony controlling everything that they really do in the end,
Well,
and it caused Helldivers for a little while to be the lowest rated game on the Steam store.
yeah. One thing I like too. So you heard the game Frostpunk
Mm-hmm.
made by 11-bit Studios. So that's also a small studio, right? It's got about 30 more people than Arrowhead, right? Who made Helldivers, and their games are amazing. They're an indie studio, and their games are amazing. To the point where I just saw it today. It actually came out a long time ago. Well, like 2 months ago, but they have a Frostpunk version of the RX 770. Like it's really super cool, and I'm like, this is like a small time gaming studio that's like they made enough money. They're doing this. They're doing these different things, right? Like they're succeeding. Then you got like Ubisoft who just can't stop failing. You got EA who can't stop failing.
I think they're trying to sync their
Yeah,
companies.
Bungie. I think they're trying to do things the traditional way, and it's just not the traditional way anymore.
Trying to do it the traditional way by but also maximizing profits.
Yeah, that's that part maximizing profits. That's kind of
Well, I mean, a
the thing
company's
too.
goal is to make money. That's never going to change. I mean,
Right.
anything a company does that is quote unquote good isn't out of any sense of altruism. It's to make money. Companies don't
Right.
care. Like, anytime, you know, the second it's June 1st, every company comes out with their whole thing. Oh, we're all for, gay pride and all that kind of stuff. They don't care. It's just more marketing.
I mean,
It's
you
the
say
it's
that
the
right,
it's the
and
people who
there's
set the trends. They just follow along with it.
you say that right. And true, a game is about making money, but the games that succeed are not monetized to hell, right? Or the games that are really popular are not monetized to hell, or they don't, or those people don't buy that stuff, right? Like, um, you've heard of Star Citizen, right?
Maybe.
I'll bring up the worst one. So, so Star Citizen is not a game. It is it is like a concept at this point still. Um, it's been in development for years and years and years, and it could never come out of development. But like they have I don't know if I can find it. Um, okay, so here's one. One of their packages for one of their ships, right? It's $1,100. Um, if you go to their store and you spend, I think it's $1,000, you get access to a second store. And if you spend like $10,000, you get access to a third store. You get access to a special item, right? So like that's a huge monetization thing, and nobody likes it, right? That's the most extreme example. Like if you
Wait, where's
try
that?
too hard, people are gonna catch it. People are gonna not like it.
Well, yeah, but there's
Or
a there's
what's the one?
there's also the point of like people are just gonna consume it anyways.
People are gonna buy it. I mean, you can make something great without trying to wring every bit of cash out of it, and that's what a lot of these indie studios do, right? That's what Helldivers did. They added stuff you could buy in the game, but they made it never go away. They made it never expire, right? They made it
Not play to win.
not play to win. I
Oh,
mean,
look at
you could
one.
you can easily
Look at Once Human.
you can easily yeah
Once Human. All of their cosmetics don't do shit except make you look cool.
yeah
They just
yeah.
go on top of the gear that you already have. So you can play the game without any of the cosmetics and be 100% fine. But if you want the
Yeah,
cosmetics, they're there. Maybe a little overpriced, but
there maybe a little. Um, yeah, I mean that's 100%. I agree. That's you can do it without crazy monetization. And another thing a lot of people are getting upset about when you talk about monetization too is like these versions of games that cost $120 or games that cost $70 that aren't worth $70, right?
you have to
Um,
pay another $50 to play on time, and they
yeah,
call it early
like
access.
you get a game that you pay $70 for. Starfield, right? I wanted to play that game so hard when it first came out, and then it came out, and I was like, "Yeah, this is not it," you know?
So I remember Starfield was popular for 2 weeks.
Yeah, was it worth paying $70 for? Probably not.
Well, that's also where Bethesda, kind of caught lightning in a bottle with Fallout and Skyrim, and they were just trying to repeat that. And because of that, Bethesda has never improved their formula. Every game is the
Yeah,
same with a different setting.
yeah, but that's also like it's also like now no one's gonna people are gonna look at it differently. No one's gonna go back to that, right? They're gonna be like, the next game that comes out could be amazing, and it could be $70, right? It could be like the greatest game Bethesda ever released, and it could cost $70. But then people are going to see that and they're going to be like, "The last game you released is trash, so I don't know if I want to buy this."
Right.
Um, Same with Star Wars Outlaws, right? Outlaws is not looking good, uh, and it's tarnishing. Who is that? EA, right? Is Outlaws EA?
Ella's is Ubisoft, I think.
Oh yeah, it's Ubisoft.
Somehow.
Um, yeah, but like Ubisoft hasn't been hitting any good games lately, really.
Well, neither has EA.
Yeah, yeah. But you know who has been doing it? These small studios. They said Helldivers is a good example. Once human, well, once human is in its own studio. It's fucking Tencent, but um,
Once Human is made by
giant Chinese
one
conglomerate.
person and one person only, Xi Jinping.
Yeah, the CCP. Um, you know, it's another good example of a studio. It's not an indie studio. I wouldn't call it. Um, so From Software, I wouldn't call it an indie studio. It's not ginormous, but they have been killing it like lately.
Remind me?
Like
I know I've played From Software
uh
games.
Bloodborne, uh Elden Ring,
Oh, yes,
Armored
yes, 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 yes,
Core,
yes, 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 yes.
you know, like the Dark Souls, like they're just Sekiro. Sekiro was amazing. Uh but like they have been hitting it hard, and they're not like you said. They're not. I don't like to say they're an indie studio.
Yeah,
They're an
I
independent
definitely
studio.
wouldn't say indie, but indie means
Um,
independent.
yeah, yeah. When you say yeah, you're right. But like when you say indie, though, it's always kind of like
It's the
people
connotation.
think of the yeah. It's like this thing. Indie means one thing, but independent, the full word means another thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like those games. I mean, Elden Ring, Sekiro, Dark Souls, Bloodborne. Um, some of the greatest video games ever. Like Elden Ring was amazing. It was just everything about it was amazing. I want to play Sekiro, but I never did.
I
I
mean,
think
you
they,
can also have an amazing game by Shea Studio too, though. Rockstar is a perfect example. All
yeah.
of their games, like the 1.01 update, is like all the game needs to be. And then after that, it's all downhill. They downgraded Red Dead Redemption. They ruined Red Dead Online.
Well, they abandoned Red Dead Online.
But you that they poured all of their time into GTA and
That's where they made their money.
mm-hmm, canceled the GTA 5 single player DLC.
Damn.
Doesn't mean GTA is a bad game. It's a great game. Just shitty leadership. And it's kind of funny because we've talked before about how back in the day you buy a game and that's what you had. It's like you can take a game and nowadays, and because of those updates and DLCs, completely ruin it.
Hmm. No, I mean that's like how often has there been like oh well this update ruined this in this game, so they made a hot fix.
Mm-hmm.
Bungie was really bad about that, and I don't know if that was they were really bad about releasing patches that broke things, but they were really good about fixing it afterwards. Right, like they released a patch on Tuesday that broke something. By the
What?
weekend, it's fixed.
Well, let's take a look at a very recent example. Look at Dead by Daylight. The fuck? It's like they're giving all of the updates to their freaking interns.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like the
Everyone breaks something.
the what was it, 8.01 or 8.0.1, that update, that quote unquote hotfix, there were so many fucking glitches. You could just jump right out of the fucking map. You'd walk into the basement, you'd be stuck there. There were 1,000 glitches. And they came out with 8.1.1, which was the fucking band aid on a bullet to the head. Barely fixed anything.
Mm.
It's like I get that when you update a game as frequently as that, there's going to be issues. But holy fuck, it's like, yeah, the issues get fixed, but every update has more issues than the last.
Yeah.
And it's like at a certain point, if you don't slow that shit down, it's gonna ruin it. I mean, some of the glitches from the 8.0.1 update made the game literally unplayable for some people. Like, what the fuck are you supposed to do when you get stuck in the basement? You can't do anything. The killer couldn't even get in the basement. The survivors were in the basement. The killer couldn't get in there. The game's just deadlocked.
Yeah.
You have no choice but to DC and lose all the blood points and progress you got from that game.
And make everything else just a waste of money.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
it happens. And that one's even a case of like, I don't behavior isn't malicious in that sense. It's not like they're ruining their game on purpose, but it's just killing the game. And if they don't get it under control, it's only going to get worse, and people are going to stop playing. Just kind of how it goes.
Yep. You're right.
So, kind of like we did with Diddy. Not going to touch too much on this as of right now because it's still very under development. We've got a couple things with the Beast Man himself, big old Jimmy,
The
Mr.
Beast
Beast.
Man.
So,
Yeah, this is where you're gonna have to educate me because I'm kind of. It was a little overwhelming for me.
so the big thing is that let's see. So, Mr. Beast's friend, Ava Tyson, uh, formerly known as Chris, because she transitioned. Um, Back at the time that Ava was working for Mr. Beast, was supposedly sexting minors. Now, not to be disrespectful, but this seems like a trend.
I wonder. All
And
right, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you a story that that may sound. It continues on that trend actually,
also,
but
that was
this
a
was.
Dr. Disrespect pun if you didn't get that.
I will assume about the doc in a minute too, but like, so we were at what concert were we at? Say Anything, I think we were at a Say Anything concert in California in 2008. So it was a long time ago, right? And this is how I'm going to tell you that people don't change, right? People are going to do what we're going to do. We're there, right? My buddy, I'm like this short. I mean, you live me, right? I'm a fucking fat white guy. But like, my buddy was a tall, really fit Irish dude with black hair. His name was Seamus Cypher. It was ridiculous. But these girls came up to us, and like one of them was kind of tall, but they looked young, but they were like, we were like, well, it's an 18 and up concert. They're fine, right? So she started talking to him, and then like her friend said something, but like she wouldn't like talk right. She wouldn't open her mouth, and after like 10 minutes, we realized that the one that wasn't saying anything was wearing braces. And then we looked at the other two, and we're like, how old are you guys? And then it turns out they were 16, 17.
Hmm.
And it's like, and I look at Cypher, and he looks at me, and I'm like, yeah, we got to go. We got to get out of here. And it's like, I'm not trying to defend the Doc or Mr. Beast or anything like that, right? But I'm saying that, like, it happens on, like, it isn't just these guys that go seek this out all the time. It sometimes happens to them, right? Like
Yeah,
malicious,
that is true,
like
but
it's
in the case of the doc and
now
seemingly this, the I mean,
it's your choice to continue that conversation, right? Like me and Cipher, we were like, no, I'm not. We're not gonna mess with this, right? Like full stop. Don't even But like that's where it's on the other end. It's like if you continue that conversation knowing that information,
right.
now you're at fault and you're the scumbag, right? Like, but the initial contact isn't always from the person that it happened to. And I'm just saying it's like which is something to consider, right? Like a lot of people don't think about that. Um, like I said, it's on the person to continue the conversation, right? When Doc found out that the person he's talking to was underage, he should have been like, "Whoa, wait a minute, stop and halt,"
Hmm.
you know. And this is an issue, but he didn't, and that's where it's on him,
Right. Can you hold on just
right?
one
Like,
quick sec? All right, sorry about that. My food got here faster than anticipated.
oh, nice.
All right. Yeah, so I think you hit the nail right on the head where um, there is a point in the conversation where once you realize, like, oh shit, I'm talking to someone who's not 18, you need to stop. And that's where the issue arises. From what I understand of this, that was known and is still continued.
Yeah, and that's what's wrong.
As far as I understand. But that's actually not the story I was wanted to focus on as much. Um, like I said, I still do want to. I won't talk about it too much. I'm just kind of setting the stage for whenever we get back around to these two topics with Mr. Beast here. Have you heard of the Beast games?
The what?
The Beast games.
They,
So you remember Squid Game? And
yeah,
one of Mr. Beast's biggest videos was him recreating the Squid Game. Actually, let me check. It might still be. At one time, I think it was his most viewed video. Let me see. It might still be. Yep. Yeah. 456,000 Squid Game in real life. Still Mr. Beast's most viewed video. He also has a video ages 1 to 100 fight for $500,000. What the fuck? Okay, anyways. So, Mr. Beast had a little deal with Prime Video. Big old Jeff himself.
Old Jeffrey.
And
Jeffrey Bezos.
apparently, didn't go so well.
Hmm.
So there's not a lot of information that has come out as of right now. But basically, it's more or less a remake of the Squid Game video on a much larger scale with a much larger prize, $5 million,
Jeez.
which is, I think, the record high for a show production prize. And, well, it's not looking so good. So they have 1,000 contestants competing for this, but there's been a bit of an issue where apparently uh, the food and medical care there was not up to par. Relatively unsafe conditions, and apparently multiple players were hospitalized as well.
Jesus.
So yeah, there's supposedly little food and water at the time of filming, and well, so everyone who does anything with Mr. Beast signs an NDA, right?
Right. It's kind of his thing.
Well, some people come out anonymously, which is how this supposedly came out. I remember a few years ago I saw a Reddit thread. You might have seen it too. It was kind of popular for a bit about someone who did Mr. Beast's. I think it was like a boys versus girls vid where they're competing for something, and just came out about how fucking shitty it was. The conditions were terrible. There was someone who had to voluntarily step out because they, I believe, needed their insulin, and they just wouldn't let them unless they, left. So, which they had to do, which meant they didn't complete everything and get the prize. I remember the biggest complaint is that Jimmy just wasn't fucking there. Like, he was so absent from the entire thing. The only time he was there, the camera was on him, he filmed what he needed to, and then immediately left. And, at the time, this was more or less hearsay, but now when we've got this, seems like there might be a little bit more merit to it. I don't know, you got any opinions on Jimmy, Benny?
I don't follow him a lot. I don't know a lot about him really.
I've never been a huge fan of his necessarily, but it's more just been it's because that's the kind. It's not really the kind of content I like. Not anything against him. It's just not really what I enjoy.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, it's just not stuff I watch. To me, I'd rather watch something that's like educates me a little bit, or somebody that has an opinion about something, right? Like I watch like Asmongold, I watch like Thor from Pirate Gaming, I watch like several other even anybody I watch on Twitch. Like it's hard for me to sit down and watch someone do something mindless, like just play a game or do a task or like sometimes it's just entertaining, but it's not my uh preferred thing to watch. And so I kind of like,
I think there's a lot of stuff that, you know, I mean, his whole thing is he gives money away, right? It's not going to be a bad thing
yeah,
to an extent.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, the example I always go back to is Mr. Beast had a video a little over a year ago where he cured blindness in like 1,000 people or 10,000 people or something like that.
What?
So there's a form of blindness that can be cured with a simple surgery, but
Oh,
that
it's probably
surgery is a lot of
expensive
money.
or
So he went through. I'm not seeing the video, but he went and cured it, and I believe it was 1,000 people, but maybe it was 10,000 people. And people got pissed at Mr. Beast for that because they said 1,000. There's a video called "1,000 Blind People See for the First Time," and people just gave him a lot of shit for it.
yeah. I've
And
I've
they're
heard
saying
I've
that like
heard
he took advantage of the blind people and all that stuff. And someone's like, think about if you were the blind person and this person, just cured your blindness for content. It's like, okay, but he still did a good thing, right? Like,
I've heard so many people criticize him for that. Yeah, like oh, he donated so much money to all these people, or he bought all these people a certain thing, and it's like you can't help everybody, but if
well,
one
it's like it's
influencer went
not.
out and helped 1,000 people, it's like you're. It's like to me, the people complaining about it, I'm like, if you have all this money and you don't go out and help 1,000 people like that, like you're the problem.
Well, I mean,
For
it's also
content or
not
not,
like
like he's
Mister.
at least doing something.
It's not like he jumped out of a van, pistol whipped a blind person, threw him in, and made him go get cured. Like these people agreed to it,
Yeah,
and that's someone who couldn't afford the surgery and can now see for the first time in their life. Like, let's say that he did it just for the content and that's it. He did it for the wrong reason, yeah, but he still did an undeniably good thing. I mean, a good thing for the wrong reason, I mean, in that case, is still a net positive.
yeah.
But then you get into things like this, where this was an actual issue, and in this case, he gave people medical bills. So, I mean, there's a line to draw here. I mean, I don't think. I think definitely he is at the point where, you know, everything is about the content, everything is marketing, and sometimes he does good and sometimes he does bad with it. Is how I'm viewing it at this point. Maybe, I don't know if you feel differently about it.
I think so. So it's like you said. I've heard so many people be like totally against what he's doing because they say he's doing it just for content. You're doing it just for this. You're doing it just for that. But like they said, he does it. He does something, right? Like he could go buy 100 of his friends Lamborghinis, right? Maybe he does that. He might do that. You never know. But like he could do that and nothing else, and that's kind of a piece of shit like move, but it's his prerogative. But no, he like goes out and he helps all these people, and at least he's doing something. It's for content. At least it's something productive for content.
Well, it's also like,
I can't.
I mean, it's easy to criticize people when they can do something that you can't.
That's
So,
true.
for example, like, you know, I can say, like, there's a lot of people who, like, whenever the lottery gets big, people talk about it and they're like, oh, well, if I won the lottery, I would do this. Like, oh, if I won the lottery, I'd buy myself a new car. They'd be like, oh, you'd buy yourself a new car? Well, I'd donate all my money to charity, but your idea is nice too. Like those kind of assholes. Like, yeah, well, I guarantee you wouldn't. You're just saying that, and you can't prove me
Yeah.
wrong because you don't have the money to do that. So I think there is that side of it where finding these blind people and giving them the surgery that they weren't able to get before is a good thing. But then, when you have people competing for the money and then they're in unsafe working conditions, kind of different. And I think that's kind of where his contest kind of changed over the years. I think is that's definitely just gotten more, at least from the outside looking in. Because, like I said, I'm not a big fan of his, but seems
Right.
like it's just getting more and more into the lines of all business focused and nothing else really. But both of those little Mr. Beast tidbits are still developing stories, so we can hit those again some other time because I'm sure there's going to be more on it soon.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know it. You know it.
So, yeah, anything else, Benny?
One last thing. It doesn't really affect a lot of people. I don't think, but still been nostalgic. Game Informer magazine. The last issue was July. Been running for 33 years, and they
Jesus,
finally
really?
shut. Yeah, Game Informer's been running since the 80s.
I didn't know
Um,
that.
yeah,
I
88,
remember.
I think. Let me look. I think 88.
I remember Game Informer because there was a time where if you were like a Power Up Plus member or whatever the fuck it was at GameStop, they just gave you the magazine.
You got Game Informer. Yep.
Hmm. That's
Um,
why I remember it because my brother was a Power Up Plus or whatever the
I don't
hell
know.
that membership was called. Because he
They
just wanted more money for the games he traded in.
that yeah, that's why I got it. I was in Power Plus number two for that. Yeah, they started 91.
Hmm.
And then but I mean, there's a lot of games. I mean, there's a lot of magazines that are just going out, right? Like, when did Nintendo Power stop? Stopped a long
I
time
mean,
ago, I thought.
being realistic though, when was the last time you picked up a magazine?
Final issue was 2012. Yeah, well, so that's what I'm saying is like, there's like people aren't reading magazines anymore. People aren't ordering them. They're just taking up space, right? Uh, who wants a bunch of magazines sitting on their computer desk, right? When you can
Right.
just go online and look at it. The internet has changed so much
So is
about
Game
what we do
Informer
and all this stuff.
still existing like online?
No, if you go to Game Informer's website now, where does it? I have it popped up. It just is a little splash screen that says the final level, farewell from Game Informer.
Oh wow, they really went kaput.
And it's just so that was another criticizing thing is certain people criticize them because they just shut their website down. So all that archive content you can't get anymore.
That was like remember when Machinima
Like
removed all of their YouTube videos?
yeah, it's the same shit or same thing. You can't get any of it anymore.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of they get a lot of criticism for that.
That's crazy.
But Game Informer magazine, don't see.
Honestly, the most surprising part of all that was they were still around. I thought they would have gone away years ago. I think the last time
Still
I
there.
even looked at a Game Informer magazine was maybe like 2015.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I agree. But
Well,
yeah,
we can just take this time to lament.
they're out. They're out. And I mean, it's like I
You
said,
can
it's a sign of the times changing. It's
you can cry
people
if you
are
need to,
the
Benny.
internet's changed things.
We cry
Huh?
together. We cry together.
Yeah.
You use my shoulder.
The times are changing. The times they are a changing.
I am kind of surprised though that they're not continuing online, but I mean, look
That's
at what you're
I'm
competing
surprised
with.
they did that to their website. Like they just shut down their website like that.
Yeah, but I mean,
That was
they're gonna be competing with Polygon and Game Rant,
Polygon.
Konami.
Fucking
Or wait, did I
the
say
fuck out of
wait?
here.
Did I say Konami? That's not right,
Yeah,
is it?
fucking Polygon.
Oh yeah, it is.
Kotaku.
Kotaku, yes. Like, oh man, just yeah, not Konami. Jesus, Kotaku, yes. Just going and dragging Metal Gear Solid through the dirt. I just accidentally attacked Hideo Kojima. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You better apologize.
I'm sorry, Kojima. It was a mistake.
He knows. He's like, Roger that.
This Spidey senses are tingling. You ever see his tweet that
He's
was
gonna
like,
find you.
he was like, people always come at me for not having enough diversity in my games and inclusivity, but little do they know, every single one of my games has had a gay character. You, the
Yeah,
player.
yeah, dude.
Dude is a fucking
He's a
savage.
monster.
Uh,
He's a freaking monster, dude. Like he was hard. It's
Alright.
fucking funny.
Well, I better get off before every second I'm still online, Kojima's getting closer, so we should
Yeah,
wrap
yeah.
here.
He's approaching your location.
Alright. Got any
So,
last
all
words
right.
of wisdom?
Don't talk to minors.
Yeah,
Just don't.
don't insult
Just
Kojima.
don't insult Kojima. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, both
Support
both of those
support.
are a death
Here,
sentence.
I got a piece of advice. If you have something that you really like, support it. Now, Game Informer magazine, no one really liked Game Informer magazine, right? They gave a shit. But like, if there's something, a creator, a product, or something you like that you are skimming, getting for free, or like, sometimes you just pay for stuff. Sometimes you just support stuff, right? If you want to see it kept around. Some of this stuff is going the wayside because people just aren't supporting it,
Right.
and people don't care about it. But if
Mm-hmm.
there's something you really like, something you want, support it. It's how
I
the world goes.
I just want to put out there, I support Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah,
Great
support Metal Gear
series.
Solid. I will always support Metal Gear Solid. Like that's not even a question.
Don't kill me, Kojima.
Don't kill him because you might need him.
Alright.
All right, I'll see you later.
Yep. Say bye, Benny.
Till next time.
Yep.
Stay
See you
safe,
later.
everybody.
Stay safe from Kojima.
Stay safe from Kojima.